Hey everyone, Grant here from Spectre Racing. So we're here today in my garage to go over the last 4 events and talk about the Prosolo. And to mention if spending $4,000 on suspension and $6,000 on a blower, was it worth it the last couple events? So since last season, if you haven't been following us, I did add a Roush 2.3 liter TVS Supercharger and MCS Coilovers. So before that, last season the car was pretty much on par with like a performance pack Mustang nowadays. Had full bolt-on intake, you know, with cams and everything, intake manifold. It made about 400 horsepower at the crank, and it was 3 something to the wheels. So now in the 2017 season, stepping it up a notch and trying to make this a true street mod car. Now it's not the best street mod car, obviously. You probably need like an all-wheel drive Subaru. It's a bit too heavy. The weight limit's in the high 2000s, and I'm in the high 3000s. So it's a bit heavy, but I'd like to give those Subarus a run for their money. So, Event 1. So Event 1 was at Brooksville. It's an airport. This was the first event with the Supercharger. Now, you've seen a couple, the first video in the intro, you see that I did a little bit of power slide happy. It ended up being a test and tune event, so I got about 8 runs in. Had trouble with the cameras and telemetry and everything. It being the first event with the setup, and I was needing to monitor my IAT temperature, make sure the motor wasn't running too hot. I did bring ice with me and everything, but I ended up not needing it. Ended up with a great time. I did win Street Mod, but that day there was not anybody else running Hoosiers in Street Mods, so it's not really a great comparison. But I certainly learned a lot of the throttle modulation that's learned with having 441 wheel horsepower and 400 wheel torque. It certainly takes some getting used to. Moving on to the Jam. So that is the Jacksonville Automotive and Motorcycle Museum. Now this event was a very, very tight, quick course. It was a double loop around. Now I was very surprised. I thought, oh man, you know, this event's gonna suck. It's a tiny little course. You know, little Miatas and stuff are gonna kick my butt. So laid down, we got 6 runs, 5 of them sliding all over the place. This one run that you see, that was my best run, and it ended up being the fastest time of the day, which I was honestly really surprised by. I thought the driving was a little bit sloppy, and you can see I get a little bit sideways here and there, but it was pretty dang quick. Now, I was not the only one on Hoosiers. There was a Ethan, you can see in our Honda video here. He was out there too. I kind of thought he would beat me out there today, but you know, Supercharger really does help. So, Event 3. So Event 3, you'll notice the car sounds different. Well, in preparation for the Prosolo event where there are noise restrictions, and they're pretty serious about that, I bought a set of Craigslist Flowmasters, and they sound like absolute turd, but they quiet the car probably about 20 decibels, so it really helped. So this event ended up being a lot like the national event, the Prosolo event that I'll get to later. Very technical, a lot of areas to lose time on. Had a little bit of trouble between second and third, but I laid down a pretty good time, and I actually managed to beat an SSM car, an Elise on Hoosiers. So as far as the MCS is concerned, definitely watch the build video to see the specs of the hardware. But as far as the settings of the suspension, the MCS is 18 points of adjustability for rebound, so I am +9 up front and +4 in the back. The suspension is pretty neutral, tending a little oversteer, although I believe that's mostly because of my 431 final drive ratio and, you know, the 400 wheel torque. So I know I talked about, you know, with the 800 foot-pound springs, would that be too much? Especially, I only did one event pre-Supercharger with the MCS, and it wasn't corner balanced or anything, so now the car is corner balanced for the last 4 events. And the spring rate up front, the 800 foot-pound spring rate, I think is wonderful. It does not understeer. It transitions really, really well. You know, I'm running, even though I'm running full stiff on the front sway bar, and it you know, no understeer. Car handles very, very neutral, so I really like it. On to event 4. So this was at the firm. It's on a real road course. We've been there a bunch of times, so I do have a bit of an advantage of knowing the course and knowing the lines. You watch the videos, my lines are very, very clean. I know exactly where to turn. I know exactly where to get on the throttle. Now the shoebox section, I'm always having trouble between second and third. The older videos you see, I put it in third, but I've really been bogging. With the Supercharger, it does really help, but it, you know, I'm just getting into the power band in some sections. And now it's funny, you saw in the beginning part of the video, you see me spin out of the back section of the firm. Now that first time was actually because I hit the rev limiter in third, which I didn't expect, and it bounced me back as I was turning, and that's funny. So that was a bit of a surprise to me, hitting third, the top of third in autocross. So I ended up doing very good that day, obviously, with the amount of speed I was able to get. And just the Supercharger is nuts in those back sections. It was just an absolute blast. And I think I placed top 10 raw time overall. And now did win Street Mod again, but there was no one else on Hoosiers in Street Mod. So then they got rid of the time modifier this year for Randall, if anyone else was wondering, in comparison to last year. So all in all, so for the first 4 events, I did place first in all 4. In Street Mod, I did place top 10 in Raw in, I believe, every single event. So, you know, spending $10,000 on suspension and power mods, was it worth it? I'd say it was. But we're going to get to the Prosolo here. So if you watch Mo's video right here, he goes a bit more in depth into the Prosolo. Now what it is it's in autocross, but it's with a drag racing start. Now I don't really have a lot of footage from that day because everything went wrong from the get-go. So what it is instead of, you know, you do your run, you come back and you get in the car again and you go, you do 4 runs consecutively. You can't get out of the car, so you have to have someone to maintain your tire pressure. Well, this was the first one the group and I went to. It was a bit hectic, and they didn't get to my car. So the first day, you know, I'm there just drifting. You know, I had no traction. I think the tire pressure jumped up to 40-something PSI. So first day was kind of a waste. So we get to the second day, walk out to the car, inspect it all, make sure everything's good to go. I notice there's a cord on my back right tire. No idea why, but it still has plenty of tread life left. It may have been from spinning out at 86 miles an hour at the firm. Maybe my alignment has gotten wacky. I'm gonna go get that checked. Could be a couple things. So I'm like, crap, you know, I can flip the tires and get some more life out of it, but you know, we're gonna do this run, and I'll worry about that later. So I had a co-driver, Scott from the channel, and his Corvette has been broken and still is broken. So hopefully we'll get that on later. But Scott does his runs, and we finally got all the tire pressure stuff sorted out. And then it's my turn. Well, he told me when I was accelerating, the seat clicked back and it won't adjust anymore. So I get in the car and it is completely reclined and it will not lock in place. And if you watch the live video, I was just struggling and yelling, and the Prosolo people are yelling at me, "You gotta go!" And I'm like, shit! So it just was bad. I did one of the runs like riding dirty, and it was bad. And then I managed to adjust the seat all the way forward, driving like my old grandmother, and that didn't really work either. And so I ended up doing 4 runs with the seat all out of whack, and I actually managed to get 2 times that were somewhat decent, and it was like a 42. The best time was like a 38 with 500 and some wheel horsepower, 3,000 pound Subaru, but so 42 I don't think was that bad considering my circumstances. The car easily had 40 in it. So maybe 40, 41. Like I said, I don't have a lot of video from that day because nothing went right. And so definitely watch Mo's video if you want to see a bit more in depth to it. I definitely have to get the seat fixed on the Mustang for the next event. But one of the takeaways from the Prosolo was, now I know probably a lot of people disagree with me, but the lack of power in my car. You know, you're thinking 441 wheel horsepower, that should be enough. Well, so when you're going to the Prosolo, you're side by side, and I was going up against Ben, which you've seen on the channel in some of the videos here, and he has 530-ish wheel horsepower now. And you know, I got the 315 Hoosiers, and he was only running 275 Nexons. I was able to catch up with him in the turns, but any straightaway, if I look off into my right, he was just pulling away from me. And you know, obviously he was pulling away from me at the launch too, but when I would catch up in the straight sections, he would just be pulling away, and you know, there's no way around it. The car is making 441 wheel horsepower. If it had another 1 to 200 more horsepower, yes, it's going to be more difficult to drive, but I think I could overcome that. So it's kind of an issue because if I change the fuel pump on this car, I can make about 30 or 40 more horsepower. And it might be reliable for 5 miles or 50,000 miles. I've known a lot of people that have gotten 50,000 miles running 480 wheel horsepower. That I don't think is worth it. I don't think it would last that long with me driving it. So I'll have to figure out something with power. It's probably ways down the road. It's going to be very expensive. Running the numbers, it's only like $2,000 cheaper. It's only $2,000 more expensive to just buy a new motor than to build a mod motor. I know the mod motor is not the greatest performance motor, so that'll be a tough decision and call to make. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. So at the end of the day, dumping all that money, was it worth it? I think so. You know, it was a lot for the Supercharger. I could have done it a lot cheaper by buying used parts, piecing stuff together. I just couldn't find a lot of the like the TVS Supercharger I wanted. And the reason why I did go with new is because the resale, in case I decide to go a different route later on. The thing will be brand new. It's not going to have a lot of miles on it. So that's it. Make sure to you know, follow us on some of the live things we're doing now on Facebook and YouTube. We do a lot of Q&As with the other guys and I. And let me know if you have any questions about the car or the build or want to see any future videos. So coming up next, we have a couple more autocross events. We have one we're returning to Amelia. Now we're not doing that many events in Amelia this year, but the next one is an Amelia event. And then coming up after that, I'm going to try and make it to the track night in America at Rolling Road Raceway. It's a track day. And if you remember, one of the first videos on this channel was at Rolling Road Raceway, seen here, back when the car was very virgin. It will be really funny because I've got the stupid gearing in this car, and fourth gear tops out at 116. So I'm going to have to shift into fifth at a lot of Rolling Road Raceway. So I have no idea what fifth will top out at. So it should be interesting if I could top out the car on the, you know, the 3/4 mile straightaway at Rolling Road Raceway. And then coming up at the end of April, we got our own track day. So make sure if you're local to us in the Florida region to sign up for that. Registration details are below. So that's it. Make sure to subscribe below and hit the notify button when we have new videos published. Thanks again for watching.